أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سلك مسلكه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Yesterday we were discussing the Sujud al-Sahwi, and we explained the ziyada, that if one increases in salah, maybe ruku or sujud, but the increment is coming out of forgetfulness. So, and the person does not remember the increment in the salah until he finishes the salah. فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ إِلَّا سُجُودُ السَّهْوِ بَعْدَ السَّلَامِ. So, and this makes me I'll have to go back to the reply of a question that was asked. So, Sa'ala Adunno Abu Dahud, من صلى الفجر ثلاثة وتذكر بعد فترة طويلة أنه زاد ركعة في صلاة الفجر، هل يعيد صلاته أم يسجد للسهو فحسب؟ أظن هذا هو السؤال. نعم. الصواب والله أعلم وأن يسجد للسهو فحسب، ليس بأنه يعيد الصلاة كلها. It's like I gave a contrary response yesterday. حتى لو لأنه زاد في الصلاة ليس بالنقصان. I think I gave a contrary response yesterday, right? Yeah. So I just remember that it's like what I responded with was the case of naqsu. That is for naqsu. I was replying regarding an-naqsu. Wallahu alam. So I just remembered. Az-ziyada. In كانت az-ziyada بعد الصلاة تذكر أنه زاد في الصلاة. If the person remembers that it is after salah, if he remembers after salah that he has increased in the salah, so what he has to do is to just observe the sujood al-sahw.
وإذا مضى عليه من الوقت.
If he remembers just sujood al-sahw, لأن صلاته قد كملت. The salah is already complete. So, but if it is naqsu, that he didn't, maybe instead of observing 4 rak'ah, he observed 3 rak'ah. So that is naqsu, decrement. So if the time frame is not that far, maybe like 3, 4, 2 minutes, and he remembers, he's going to complete the remaining salah, like maybe 1 rak'ah or 2 rak'ah that he has left behind, then he will now perform sujood al-sahw. So, but if the fatra, the time frame between the remembrance and the decrement he did is too far, maybe too lengthy, then فَعَلَيْهِ الْإِعَادَةِ. That is for naqsu. Lakin for ziyada, مَا عَلَيْهِ إِلَّا سُجُودُ السَّهْوِ. So, I have to go back. And this is what is al-ilm. So, if you discover that you pass a message that is confusing, so you have to لا يجوز التمادي على الباطل. Even if that thing will look like, okay, so you have to go back, because this is knowledge of the deen. So فالعلم أمانة. So you're going to be asked about it. So I just said, let me come back to that question again. I think it's clear now. So we've discussed az-ziyada. We also discussed an-naqsu. So yesterday. And on the decrement in salah, we explained something very important. That if the person that decreased or did not perform a particular ruknu in a salah, in a rak'ah, and the person remembers that he didn't perform a ruknu in the previous rak'ah, but in the rak'ah he is presently, he has not gotten to the position of the ruknu he missed in the previous rak'ah. And he remembers, in my ruku', I didn't perform ruku' in the first rak'ah. And he is still standing in maybe reciting Fatiha. So there are some scholars that said he can go back to the previous ruknu he left behind and bring it, followed after ruku', sujud, then begins the next rak'ah. So since he has not gotten to the position of a ruku' in the second rak'ah, because it is the ruku' that he missed in the first rak'ah, so that he can go back. So there are why some said if he goes back, there will be mix up. It will have to be, the sujud that he has performed, he will be performing another sujud, bringing that it is better he continues the salah. Since he has left a ruknu, he doesn't need to go back there again. He will just replace it with another rak'ah, because that rak'ah is not valid, because it's a rukni that he left behind. So, wallahu a'lam, but whichever, so this is the ijtihad of scholars. And all of them are, using the hadith in one way or the other that they understood. So, this is the opinion of Al-Imam Al-Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahmatullahi alayhi, that if the person remembers the ruknu he missed while he's still in a position yet to get to the position where he missed the ruknu in the previous rak'ah, then he can go back. But if he has gotten to that position, okay, like he missed ruku' in the first rak'ah, he remembers while he's performing the ruku' in the second rak'ah, he cannot go back to the position of ruku' again, because he has gotten to that position and in the rak'ah, the next rak'ah. I think we got we got that. Is it clear? Good. So that is the opinion of scholars regarding that. Inshallah, today we are going to conclude the Sujud al-Sahw. Ashak. That's the third one. I think we have talked about an-naqsu was ziyada. So ashak, doubt, when you're doubtful. Is it 3 rak'ah? Is it 4 rak'ah? So what happens? And the meaning of shak is التردد بين أيهما الذي وقع ولا يخلو الشك في الصلاة من الحالتين. So there are two things that can happen when you are having doubt. One, أن يترجح عند أحد الأمرين, that you are convinced that this is it. So بما ترجح عنده فيتم صلاته ليعمل بما ترجح عنده فيتم صلاته ويسجد للسهو بعد السلام. If he's convinced that no, it is 3. The first thing that happened was he was doubtful, but he was now convinced, it is 3. So if he is convinced, then what he has to do is to complete his salah, and he has to perform sujood al-sahw after salah, because he's convinced. Do we get that? He's going to do al-ba'di after salam because he's convinced that, it is 3, not 2. It is 4, not 3. But the first thing that happened is doubt. So because he's convinced, he's going to continue his salah and he's going to perform a sujood al-sahw after the completion of the salah. But the other way around, إِلَّا يَتَرَجَّهْ إِنْدَهُ أَحَدٌ الْأَمْرَيْنِ, is not convinced, okay, that this is it, this is that. So فَيَعْمَلْ بِالْيَقِينِ, he's going to base his judgment on the one that is sure. وَهُوَ الْأَقَلِّ, and the one that is sure about is the lesser one. Like he's doubting. Is it 2 or 3? He's going to base his judgment on the lesser one. Of course, if it is not 3, I have prayed 2. Do we see that? Maybe he's on the second rak'ah or the third rak'ah. He was now confused or doubtful. Is this my third rak'ah or my second rak'ah? But he's certain that that's not his first rak'ah. The previous rak'ah is not his first rak'ah. So he's going to base his judgment based on, okay, at least it's going to be the second rak'ah. He's going to base the judgment on the lesser number of rak'ah he has performed. So in that case, what he's going to do is to complete his salah and he's going to perform sujood sahwi before taslim. When you are convinced about the number of rak'ah, you perform sujood sahwi after taslim. When you are not convinced and you have to base your principle or your assumption on the lesser number, you are going to perform sujood sahwi before at-taslim. And this is the principle behind a shak. I hope we understand that, we get that. So, now, to cap it all, when you miss wajibatun from amongst the 8 wajibat that we mentioned, when you miss it, you leave it behind, you perform sujood sahwi. You perform sujood sahwi. When you leave a rukn from among the 14 pillars, arkan, that we mentioned, it is not sufficient that you perform sujood sahwi and it is amended. No. You are going to bring it back. And we explain the 2 conditions in which you are going to bring it back. Is either you go to, if you are in the second rak'ah, you go back to that position. You have not gotten to the position in the rak'ah you have presently. Or if you've gotten to the position, you cannot go back there again. What you just have to do is to assume that rak'ah is not part of the rak'ah you're observing. You're going to replace it with another rak'ah. So these are the conditions regarding sujudu as-sahwi. Okay? Is it clear? So we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us aright. Though there are some scholars that are saying if a mistake happens, then one is now doubtful. He's skeptical. Is it badi? Is it qabli? The principle is not worship. So the scholar said he can do any of them. If he's in position of not, he's not clear about if it is qabli or badi, that he can do any of the 2 sujood sahwi that is also is allowed. But if he knows, okay, for this is this. For that, this is this. He has to do the right thing. Wallahu a'lam. So I think we're going to stop here, inshallah. Does anybody have a question? Naam. طيب. التشهد. نعم. طيب. There are 2 conditions. For qabli, the qabli is the sujud you perform before taslim. You have performed at-tashahhud awwalan qabla an tasjuda sajdatayn. So before you prostrate twice. So if you sit down after the 2 prostrations, are you still going to perform at-tashahhud? Is that the question? Are you still going to perform at-tashahhud or not? So, Jumhurul ulama, they are of the opinion that you don't need to perform at-tashahhud again, because you have already done at-tashahhud before the sujud. Okay? So now the question is, if one performs at-tashahhud, that you don't need to do it again, is the salah invalid or not valid? Is it valid or not valid? The salah is valid. Though there are some scholars that are even scholars. If you do tashahhud in sujood wa tashahhud al-an isnan. If you've done tashahhud before the 2 prostrations, then before taslim, you now do another tashahhud again. Tashahhud becomes 2 in the salah. Now, the Jumhurul ulama, most of the scholars, they are of the opinion that you don't need to do a tashahhud again, because you've done it before you perform the 2 prostrations. Is it clear?
I'm trying to decide, when is the tashahhud? I thought, are y'all saying that, do we do tashahhud in sujood as-sahwi? Is that what you're saying?
No.
You're talking
about, you've gotten to the point of, normally you're praying, maybe you omitted something in the salah, then that thing requires al-qabli. So, you're going to perform the salah normally, when you get to tashahhud al-akhir, you do your tashahhud. But instead of paying taslim after tashahhud, you have to prostrate twice.
No.
You know, I have done tashahhud. Masalan, I have done tashahhud now. I have to prostrate twice.
No.
The first, the second. After the second prostration, you know, I have to sit down. I have to sit down before I pay taslim. Now, should I perform another tashahhud or I will just pay taslim straight away? That's what we are talking about here.
It's, you don't do the
Now, Jumhurul Ulama, they are of the opinion that because you have done tashahhud before you prostrated twice, you don't need to do another tashahhud. Now, that's why I now said, if someone performs a tashahhud ba'da sajdatayn, is there anything wrong with the salah? Of course, nothing. Because there are still some scholars that are of the opinion that if you do tashahhud second time, it doesn't invalidate the salah. The salah is still valid. In fact, some even have a strong opinion for al-ba'di, that tashahhud is recommended in ba'di, because the salah is you have concluded the salah by paying taslim already. Okay? Then you now perform two prostrations. Then in that case, you have to do a tashahhud. Because one salah is already complete. You know, a salah mubtada hatun bi takbirat al-ihram wa mukhtatama bimada bitaslim. So you have completed the salah with taslim. So the tashahhud that you are bringing forth has to be followed with the sajdatain that you are bringing forth has to be followed with a tashahhud. So they have stronger opinion in saying tashahhud after sajdatain if it is ba'di. But if it is qabli, you don't need to say tashahhud. Because it will just be as if you are adding ruknu to ruknu. Don't forget that at-tashahhud al-akhir, ruknun min arkan as-salah. So, and you have not completed the salah because the completion of the salah is by taslim. So, but if one does that, it doesn't invalidate the salah. So the salah is still valid. So, jazakumullah khairan for the question. Ameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.